The Socioscope is a global platform that connects impactful initiatives working to make food more sustainable. So what do you do? What are your main activities?
Hi, I'm Leander, and our case is called Decameal. And the background for Decameal is that we wanted to do something about the overpopulation of a certain species of crabs called the common shore crab. It's one of the most invasive species in the entire world, and wherever we see a lot of these crabs, we see a low marine biodiversity. So that is why we wanted to do something about them, and we wanted to turn them into something that the world needs. And since we're going to be way more people on the planet in the next many coming years, we know that we are also going to need more food. That also revolves around making more animals for us to eat, because we have a rising middle class in the world, and they're going to require more meat. So if we could do something about the crabs and maybe turn them into food for animals, then we knew that we had solved two huge problems. Myself, I'm a biologist. It was during my studies at university that we came up with this idea, me and another biologist. And the service that we offer is sustainable marine protein. And that is something that is hugely needed across the globe. Right now we're using, or the feed producers are using, a lot of fish meal. But since about the 80s, so 40 years ago, the production of fish meal has leveled out globally. We're not getting any more of that resource, but our need for it has increased, specifically for aquaculture needs across the globe. So we have a sector that's really, really rising, aquaculture, feed in general, but we have finite resources. So we need to figure out new ways of making protein, especially marine protein, instead of getting more fish meal.
How do you contribute to the food transition?
We hope to improve the food systems by making sure that the protein resources that we're using for animal feed are sustainable, because there's lots of fish meal that isn't very sustainable or comes from overfished species or stocks of fish. More than 90% of the world's global population of fish are either overfished right now or fished to their limit, the sustainable limit. So we want to make sure that whatever we are going to be using instead of fish meal is more sustainable. And sometimes we're trying to use, plant proteins, soy, for example, but that can also be sourced very unsustainably if it comes from, for example, South America, where lots of rainforest is cleared in order to make more protein for animal feed. So it's a huge problem, and that is kind of where we want to make our mark, to change what our animals eat, because the biomass of animals is already so big.
What obstacles did you face?
The biggest challenges we've met is, I guess, the same as many other startups, financial ones. We need to go secure funding, even though we don't have a background in economics or anything like that. So it's new experiences for us. What we're doing right now, even though the founders are biologists, has almost nothing to do with biology. So the learning curve of everything is, of course, a pretty steep one. Some of the second biggest challenges that we've met has been regarding legislation. Because most of the rules around making protein or having a pilot factory as we have, in order to get that approved to actually produce animal feed, the legislation doesn't really fit small companies. It's mostly made for big fish meal factories or big slaughterhouses. To adapt all of those rules and to be able to keep up with all of that European compliance can be a real hassle, and it has been. But luckily we have some good consultants who can help us with that.
Who do you collaborate with?
We've been working with some of the largest feed companies in Europe. Aqua, who produce fish feed, are really interested in getting more sustainable sources. And also DLG, which is the 5th largest feed producer in Europe, are looking to use this in poultry, specifically for egg-laying organic hens. So that has been really interesting to work with some of these very large corporates and to explore that world a bit more, because they are the ones who have the decision-making power to change what resources we use, because if they decide to use something or not use something, it can change the entire landscape of how we feed our animals.
And what's your advice for other initiatives?
So my best advice to anyone else who would try to do the same thing and run a startup is to be okay with uncertainty. You have to acknowledge that you're not going to be able to know everything. You should find out everything you can and have as many answers for everyone ready as soon as you can, but accept that there's going to be a lot of uncertainty in maybe the first few years, or maybe even longer than that, and accept that you can't control everything. And that is a really stressful thing to acknowledge, that it's okay that there's a lot of uncertainty, but if you can live with that, then I think you're already halfway to becoming a success. Because if you try to stress over everything all the time, then I don't think you're going to make it. You have to be okay with a lot of uncertainty.
Join us at thesocioscope.org.